Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Soil and water conservation. Introduction. Soil conservation is the management of soil so that it does not lose its fertility and also to maintain adequate moisture levels for plant growth. The aim of soil conservation is to prevent or control loss of plant food in the soil, which can result from soil erosion, leaching, and other bad land management practices. The agricultural soil is one of the greatest possessions of a nation. And since it took so many years to form soil, soil must be properly managed if it is to continue to support the growth of crops. Once the natural vegetation cover is disturbed, the top layers of the soil begin to deteriorate. Unless farmers take care to maintain soil structure and fertility, soil can be damaged beyond repair. We should note that the measures adopted for maintaining the soil and its resources is referred to as soil conservation. There are different methods of soil conservation. They include maintenance of soil fertility by the application of organic manure and inorganic fertilizers, controlling nutrient losses as a result of cropping, leaching, burning, and erosion, and also the careful use of water resources through counterboards, mulching, cover cropping, irrigation, and drainage. There are different ways by which plant nutrients are lost. They include through leaching, through crop removal, through burning, through erosion, through clearing. Leaching is the washing away of plant nutrients from the topsoil down through the soil profile by heavy rainfall. We can control leaching by cover cropping, as this reduces rapid movement of rainwater through the soil and also through addition of manure. In crop removal, all growing crops extract many nutrients from the soil in order to develop to maturity and produce food reserves. When such crops are harvested, the nutrients is lost forever from the soil. After many years, the loss becomes quite significant, leading to poor growth and yield of subsequent crops. Loss of nutrients by cropping can be controlled by crop rotation and also addition of manure and fertilizers. Burning is the destruction of vegetation by fire. The practice of burning the bush before cultivation is very common in Nigeria. Burning exposes the soil to erosion, and the heat destroys soil organisms as well as nutrients as nitrogen and sulfur. The ash, which contains the nutrients, is normally lost before the crop can use it. In order to control burning, instead of burning, the bush should be cut down and allowed to rot and the manure added to the soil. Erosion is the wearing away of the surface soil by natural agents such as water, wind, and animals. Erosion is the most serious as well as destructive form of loss of plant nutrients. The agents of erosion include water, wind, the activities of man too. We have different types of erosion. We have the splash erosion, which is caused by heavy rainfall and involves the removal of topsoil from a small area due to the forceful fall of raindrops. We also have the sheet erosion. In sheet erosion, wind or water can remove the whole top fertile layer of the soil in flat or gently sloping areas which are bare. Sheet erosion occurs when flood water flows uniformly over a gently sloping land. Real erosion occurs when raindrops cause gradual removal of soil particles along narrow tracts or channels known as the rille. This can be observed on slopes, narrow tracts, or sandy soil around buildings. We also have gully erosion and weed or suspension erosion. In gully erosion, flooding can cut deep into the soil to form gullies. Further rainfall deepens the gullies, so gully erosion occurs when rainfall causes continuous removal of soil particles along a particular course to the extent that it results in the cutting of a narrow ditch. Wind or suspension erosion. This occurs when soil particles are blown by the wind. Strong winds can carry stones and rocks too and use them to dislodge other soil particles. Sometimes, strong winds, which move in wheels, seen as funnels, throw heavy soil particles into the atmosphere. Wind erosion occurs mostly in dry seasons where soil is bare and loose. In order to prevent and control erosion, maintenance of vegetative cover and mulching should be practiced. There should be counter-plowing. Here, ridges should be constructed across the slope of the land along the counters rather than up and down the slope, because this breaks the flow of water and formation of erosive channels. We should also indulge in strip cropping. This involves dividing the land into strips and sowing different types of crops on the strips. Loose-rooted crops should be alternated with binding plants. Terracing involves the construction of a series of short steps with retaining banks down a sloping piece of land. The slope is therefore broken into steps, and crops are sown on the broad flat step, and grass can be sown on the short vertical path. In windbreaks or shelter belts, belts of trees are planted to prevent the prevailing winds from attacking an area of soil. We also have the use of organic manure, avoidance of overgrazing. This is where cattle, sheep or goats are not allowed to graze for a long time in a particular area because they tend to destroy protective vegetative cover without giving it a chance to grow again. We should also avoid bush burning. We should construct water channels and we should erect dams. Clean clearing is the complete removal of the vegetative cover on a piece of land. Water conservation. Water conservation refers to the intelligent use of water so that there will be sufficient water for the plants at all times without harmfully disturbing its balance in nature. We have different sources of soil water. They include the rainfall, condensation, and general water flow on the surface and through the ground. There are different ways by which water is lost from the soil. They are through surface runoff, through percolation, evaporation, and transpiration. Talking about water conservation, the objective of water conservation is artificial supply of water to areas lacking water and the removal of excess water from swampy areas. Water can be conserved through counterbonds, mulching, cover cropping, and irrigation. In counterbonds, the making of ridges across the slope of the land in a gradually slopy manner. The ridges or bonds stop the runoff down the slopes, thereby causing water to settle. Mulching. As we've earlier said, mulching is the spreading of grass or other suitable materials on the surface of the soil. It minimizes the loss of water from the soil surface by evapotranspiration and also controls erosion and leaching. Cover cropping. Cover cropping helps to prevent excessive loss of water from the soil surface by evaporation. Useful cover crops include the groundnut, beans, and sweet potato. Irrigation. In areas of low rainfall or during the dry season, crops can still be grown without depending on weather condition. Irrigation is the artificial application of water to the soil to help crops to grow. With irrigation, areas of low rainfall or during dry seasons, crops can still be grown without depending on weather conditions. And also, water can be conserved using the drainage. Land drainage involves the removal by artificial means excess water from the soil surface while still retaining sufficient reserves to carry the crop through periods of dry weather. We have different methods of drainage. We have the open ditch method and the underground drainage. In the open ditch method, open ditches are dug to drain excess water from the surface of the soil into small channels and later into larger channels and finally into the stream. Underground drainage involves the draining of excess water through the subsoil. This method is expensive, and in the moral drain system there could be salt accumulation if water does not move fast enough. On the other hand, it does not waste land and the maintenance does not cost much.